This is a brutal hunting game where unarmed people are treated as prey. They run for their lives, while enemies behind them shoot arrows and throw spears, along with stones as big as goose eggs. Even if they get knocked down or injured, seeing them panic and flee only excites the hunters more. In the end, only the male lead is left. He moves with incredible speed, but the hunter leader is ready to kill him, drawing his bow and shooting an arrow that hits its mark. Male lead falls down, and the leader's son approaches to deliver the final blow. Seizing the moment, the male lead breaks the arrowhead lodged in his body and quickly stabs it into the son's neck. The leader was stunned for a second, then he ran over like a madman. The male lead, enduring excruciating pain, got up and desperately fled into the jungle. The leader cradles his son, who is already on the brink of death, and there's no saving him now. He once burned, killed, and plundered, wiping out the male lead's tribe for his own amusement. Now, with his beloved son dead, he is heartbroken and filled with despair. This is the cycle of cause and effect. His overwhelming rage makes his gaze even more ferocious, and he wants the male lead dead. With his men, the leader is chasing the male lead like crazy. The male lead, dragging his injured body, weaves through the jungle, but he can't run anymore. Spotting a tree in front of him, he has a sudden idea, climbs up, and holds his breath to hide. The hunters run past below, not noticing him. He narrowly escapes. Then he turns his head. The male lead's pupils dilate, and he starts to flee fast. One hunter spots him, and is just about to chase him down, when a black panther pounces on him, turning him into the panther's meal. The male lead escapes. He bites off a piece of tree bark and chews it. The pain is intense, and the hunters are still hot on his heels. An arrow whizzes past his head. He didn't dare to take a breath. I don't know how long he ran, but suddenly the man stopped because in front of him was a waterfall hundreds of meters high. Looking back at the enemies closing in behind him, he thought, if I can't escape, I might as well jump. The male lead was lucky to survive. He climbed to the shore and shouted at the hunters, "If you want to come kill me, bring your friends along too."
Killing is a bad habit, but I can't take any more of what you've given me.
The hunter leader, seeking revenge for his son, forced his men to jump one by one. Seeing this, the male lead rushed further in the jungle, but in his panic, he stepped into a swamp. He grabbed onto a branch, but it was too thin and broke. His head was already submerged in the swamp, but his hands were still clawing up. He didn't give up hope for survival. Finally, he managed to pull himself up, but the hunters had already made it to the shore. The footsteps are getting closer. Male lead wants to keep running, but suddenly he awakens to the realization that it's time to fight back. He found a poison frog in the jungle and used a sharp branch to poke at its body, hitting the spikes with venom, turning it into a deadly weapon. The sound of the hunters grew closer, so he hid in the bushes and rolled up a leaf to make a tube. As the hunters approached, he launched a surprise attack with a powerful blow, taking down one hunter with a precise arrow shot. Soon the other hunters noticed something was off and turned back towards him, but the man had already set up his next trap. When the hunters caught up, they saw the man covered in mud, with only his big round eyes visible and a large bundle on his head. The hunters didn't have time to react before he threw a massive beehive. Killer bees swarmed. 2 hunters chased him, but he was found. He didn't run, thinking of his wife and son in a cave. Only the leader remained. The leader raised his bow. The man took an arrow. The man broke his sword and stood again. This was his moment. Thinking of his pregnant wife and young son who were still hidden in the cave, he decided to fight with his dignity at stake. Just the hunter leader remained. He was very strong and fierce. As he raised his bow, the man took an arrow. As he drew a dagger for the final blow, the man broke his sword and stood again. The leader was caught in the trap set by the man and was taken away. By this time, it had started pouring rain. This was bad. His wife and child were still deep in the cave. He ran for his life, knowing that if he was even a moment too late, they might drown. To modern people, this is just an ordinary ant, but to them, it's a needle and thread for stitching wounds. First, they place the ant on the wound and wait for it to open its jaws, to bite down, bringing the torn skin together. Then, they twist off the body, keeping the head intact. This is the most primitive stitching technique, crude but effective. The mother and child have been trapped in the cave for 3 days and nights, with no water or food. If they stay any longer, it's just one word: dead. The mother decided to escape. She tied a rope to wood, threw it, and climbed. Halfway, She pulled gently to make sure the wood was stuck. Then she dragged her pregnant belly up little by little, and almost exhausted all her strength halfway up. At this moment, the wood suddenly fell off, and the mother lost instantly and fell heavily to the ground. The son ran over to hug his mother. The immense pain made it hard for him to stand. Just then, disaster struck again. A sudden downpour unleashed a torrent of rain and wild chaos. With every movement, the mother felt the baby stirring. Her water broke, and the child was about to be born. The father arrived, glanced, and ran, chased by wild men. The cave water rose, submerging her. He stood on a rock, buying time. The baby couldn't wait. He hoisted his son and pushed. She gave birth in water. Her frail body held hope. The tribe rescued them. He desperately pushed against the ground, managing to stand on a rock. It would buy him 10 more minutes, but the baby inside couldn't wait. He hoisted his son onto one shoulder, gritting his teeth against the pain, adjusted his breathing, and then pushed with all his might. The woman gave birth in the water. The power of a mother's love is limitless. Her frail body stood in the water, holding up the hope for her children to survive. That moment, the father finally dealt with the threat, and the enemy tribe arrived just in time to rescue them. But when the family stood by the sea, ready to start their new life, saw two large ships slowly approaching on the horizon. Those are the invaders from the Western world. Their armor is incredibly tough, and their weapons are unlike anything seen before. In the face of a more advanced civilization, where will they go from here?
If you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos.